Medicare for All, Attempt 9. In an article published in May 2020, Cultural Anthropology tells us about a young lady named Allison. Allison is currently 22 years old and is living down in Florida. She lives with her mother and boyfriend. She's currently 6 months pregnant, and she works 2 retail jobs where she is struggling to make ends meet, which is also one of the reasons why she can't move out of her mother's house. Now, Allison has had her own amount of health problems in the past, such as nasal infection, chronic pain, and nerve damages, where she should have taken care of if she could afford health insurance at any point in her life. Just like many Americans today, Allison can't afford health insurance, which is one of the biggest problems with America's broken healthcare system today. Many people do not have it. And a solution to this problem would be switching from America's current healthcare system to a healthcare system called Medicare for All, where instead of people getting health insurance from an insurance company, they would be provided health insurance from a program by the federal government, where universal healthcare would be provided for everyone in America. Now, before switching to such a program, we have to look at some of the problems that stand in America today. In an article published in May 2020, the Reasons Foundation told us about the high number of people in America who are currently uninsured. They stated that nearly 28 million Americans are uninsured and haven't had insurance in the past year. This is a very high number when you take into consideration that's nearly 7 to 8% of our entire population. Now, this problem wouldn't be so bad if the costs the spendings that we have on healthcare in America wasn't so high, which it is. In an article published on October 13, 2018, The Economist told us about the high expenses of America on their current healthcare system. They stated that America spends 17% of their current GDP on healthcare, which is the highest of any rich country in the world. And in return, we get the same results as the countries around the world who are using their own form of universal health coverage. Now, a few causes to these problems. For the high number of people in America who are uninsured, the Ames Public Health Organization published an article in May 17, 2021, which stated that studies have shown the highest cause of uninsured in America is due to poverty. 26% of Americans below the poverty line are currently uninsured, and the remaining few view insurance more as a privilege rather than a necessity, which is still a huge problem in America. For the high cost, the Lipkinson and Williams and Wilkins Ovid Tech published an article in October 2018 stating 3 factors that explain America's high spending on healthcare yearly. They stated that these 3 factors were diagnostic procedures, which accounted for 31.8%. They stated that specialty referrals were 28.6% of the increased cost, and the greatest contributor was hospitalization, which stood at around 40.3%. This tells us why America spends so much, and these costs will sadly not be dropped by Medicare for All, but we could look into ways to counter these things in the future. A few solutions to these problems. For the 28 million people who are uninsured in America, we would have to slowly get them to go over to the insurance side and view insurance as a necessity. The Christian Century Foundation published an article in March 28th in 2018, stating that we should implement a program called Medicare Extra, which would help more people join the Medicare for All program. This would take existing Medicare coverage with its efficiencies and cost controls and add some new benefits. Then it would automatically enroll all newborns and people turning 65 and anyone who turns up to the hospital uninsured straight into the program. After a few years, we will see an increase in the people under the program and a large decrease in the amount of people who are uninsured in America. Participants with incomes over 150% of the poverty level would pay insurance premiums, but no more than 10% of their income. Medicare Extra offers a valuable path toward a national health insurance system that welcomes everybody, which would help us transition to Medicare for all. Now, a solution to counter America's high costs for healthcare was stated in a January 2020 article by the People for People Health Foundation, where they talked about countering the high costs of America's health insurance. Because America spends a lot of their money on healthcare to provide the best possible healthcare, which is unarguable in the world. America provides the best healthcare. So instead of trying to decrease these costs by sacrificing our efficiency, we need to look at ways to counter the costs that would be coming up in America, which would be implementing a finance plan that includes repurposing existing federal and state spending on health insurance and redirecting 98% of the current employer spending on private insurance, and replacing individual spending on premiums and out-of-pocket spending with a max of progressive taxes targeted to the finance sector. Large corporations and the top 1% of earners, including a tax on wealth over $1 billion. All of these solutions and financing plans would help counter the high costs of Medicare for all, and the taxes that we would give out to the top 1%, which is the rich people in our nation, would help lower the cost of Medicare for all and provide insurance for everyone in America. In conclusion, Medicare for All is the next step for America to catch up to the other countries around the world. A famous quote was stated in a Milbank Quarterly article of June 2019. They talked about George Santianis saying, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." And America is watching other countries improve their healthcare while they put innocent civilians such as Allison in harm and leaving her in the past just because she cannot afford health insurance. Medicare for All would help America transition to a better healthcare system and provide for everyone who needs it most.